In this part of the video, we're going to look at a new operator that you may not have seen if you haven't studied computer science. You're used to a number of different operators in math. One is the plus sign that tells you to add, or the minus sign that says to subtract. In Python, we use the asterisk or the star to multiply and a slash to divide. But now we're going to talk about a new one called the mod operator, and we're going to use the percent sign to do that. That's on the shift 5 if you're trying to use that. What the mod operator is going to tell us is the remainder when you divide things. So instead of looking at a number with a decimal, we're going to look at the number, the quotient, and then the remainder. So when you divide with a slash, if you're using integers, it just chops off everything after the decimal point. If you did 5 divided by 3, well, it goes in once, and then there's some stuff left over. It's just going to give you an answer of 1. So if you want to find out what that remainder is, you use the mod operator. So 5 divided by 3 is 1 remainder 2. So mod would give you the 2 as the answer. Another example would be if you're looking at time. Time goes up to 12 and then goes back to 1 and goes up to 12 and then goes back to 1. So if it is 1 o'clock, what time will it be 13 hours from now? One way to figure that out would be to do 1 plus 13, which is 14. 14 mod 12, well, 14 divided by 12 is 1 with a remainder of 2. So 14 mod 12 would be 2. In 13 hours, it'll be 2 o'clock. So let's take a look at what happens with this code. This code is going to use modulus to figure out if something is an even or odd. And if it's even, it's going to do one thing. If it's odd, it's going to do another. And we're going to use the if statement. We'll learn a lot more about how to do ifs. But for now, let's take a look at what this code looks like, and then we'll watch it run. So first of all, it's going to be very similar. It's going to do 18 petals. It's going to say draw right 20, forward 8. But then what it's going to do is say if petals mod 2 equals 2 equal sign this, check to see if that equals 0. If it does, it's going to draw a circle. Otherwise, it's going to just skip down to here and go back to the middle. So it's only going to draw the circle if it's an even number. Going to go back to the center, come back up here, make petals 1 bigger, and the next time it'll check to see if petals is an even number or odd number. If it's even, it will draw. If it's odd, it won't. So let's watch. Draws the stem and the 2 leaves, and then it keeps going out there, but it doesn't draw the petal unless it's an even number. So we're going to end up with 9 petals around the outside. We're going to end up with petal number 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And then when it comes back up and it's 18 petals, 18 is not less than 18. So it'll skip down here and stop the program. Let's try this again. This time we're going to change to equals 1. So now we're checking to see if it's an odd number instead of an even number. So right now the first petal is right here. And let's take a look what happens when we run it with this new version. Notice it went out there, but it didn't draw anything because it was 0, and it's drawing all the odd petals. The first time there was a petal on the right side of the stem, now there's a petal on the left side. So it's doing it very, very similar. Let's see, this time it wants us to draw it so that every 4th petal was drawn instead of every 2nd petal. So what would that look like? So first of all, what we should do is come down here to where the petals are. What should we change if we wanted to do every 4th petal? I think we should change this to a 4 so that on petal 0 it'll work, but 1 and 2 and 3 it will not. And then pedal 4 it will draw, 5 and 6 and 7 it will not. Pedal 8 will draw. Let's take a look. Zero, pedal 4, pedal 8, pedal 12, pedal 16. Let's see. Examine the code below in which every 8 pedals, only the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th are displayed. So what's going to happen with the if then? It'll be a little bit similar, except this time we're looking to see if when we divide, if the remainder is bigger than or equal to 4. So for 0, 1, 2, and 3 it will not, but for 4, 5, 6, and 7 it will. Then when we get back to 8, 8% 8 is 0, so it won't draw number 8, 9, 10, and 11. But 12, 12 modulus 8 is a remainder of 4. And so it'll draw 4, it'll skip 4, it'll draw 4, it'll skip 4, it'll draw 4. Let's take a look. It skipped 4 more, it draws 4 more, it's going to skip some more. So a number of different ways that we can use modulus to kind of change some patterns and tell it to skip some things or not to skip some things. For each of these, we're using the percent sign to do modulus, and then some kind of a comparison, greater than equal, equal, equal. We could use less than equal. We could also use just a less than or greater than. Those will all be different, different codes. For number 18, they want you to make it so the first, second, third, and fourth pedals work. So I'm going to leave that for you. All right. After that, we're going to switch over. We're going to make sure that we have Visual Studio working, and then we're going to make something in Visual Studio. So remember in Visual Studio, we got that set up in class the other day. This is the symbol for it is the symbol right here. What you want to do is first open up a folder if you don't have one open. I have my 1.1 folder open and I can see the different code that I've written at this point. If I right click on something and click run Python file in terminal, here it's drawing a kind of similar flower where I took some code and copied it in there. So that was one of the designs that I made. So what you're going to do is copy some code to get started. You can take one of the things that we've done, copy that in there, and then you are going to write something to make something a little bit neat. Make sure you use the mod operator and at least one loop and try to draw something that's kind of interesting.